Okay, hey, Alita Army. Welcome to the Alita Livestream of April the 18th, 2025. Alita's Antagonists and Villains, where we discuss all things to do with the movie Alita Battle Angel, the source manga Gundam, and the greatly desired sequels. I am your host, Creek Indian from Denver, Colorado, and with me is Spendrick, and he's from Deutschland. Wie geht's, Spendrick? Wie geht es dir? I think you're muted there, Spendrick.
Oh, okay. I'm muted. Okay.
Yeah.
Welcome to the stream and nice to have you all here.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, it's really good to be here. And yes, sir, Johnny Kendall. Well, I have seen where Robert Rodriguez still says he's talking to Cameron about an Alita sequel, and of course that's it's probably like you suggest there. It's probably going to happen after Avatar 3. So I think people have been hearing me say all along that I've been supremely confident that we're going to get a sequel, and I guess I have good reason to, but I'm not going to discuss that. So. But anyway, we're going to get that sequel. I am just super duper confident of it. So anyway, what's happening over there in Deutschland?
It's not very Easter-like weather. It could be much better, much warmer. Here in this region, we have a day gray in gray, no sunshine, a little bit rain, but yeah. Could be much better.
Yeah,
let's see what the Easter weekend brings.
Yeah, I think yesterday, I think we got up to something like here in Denver, we got up to something, I guess probably around, let me just double, God, Gary, come on now. Yes, I guess it's around 22 degrees Celsius here yesterday, 72 degrees Fahrenheit.
Okay, this is
and
much
today,
better than.
Well, today it is snowing to beat the band, Jack. I've been snowing all day, and it's been down near 0 Celsius. So it's they have a saying here in Denver: if you don't like our weather, stick around for about 15 minutes; it'll change. So, so we got like a 40-degree drop at Fahrenheit, 40-degree Fahrenheit drop in temperature, which I guess is probably around 24, 25 degrees, I guess, Celsius.
Okay, this would be okay.
So,
yeah. Okay.
So in Angelus, I think Angelus is working today because I noticed on the show notes for Radio Chaos, he put down he had to work, so he won't be with us. So I think he's not going to be able to make it today, I think. But I did send out some invites. I think we'll get a couple of other folks coming on, in a little while. So that's okay. I think Spendrick and I can talk about Alita all day. So that's not a problem for us.
That's it. Yeah. And I know the attorneys and consultants of Disney are listening in the background, and the only thing. Yeah.
You think they're listening to this stream? I'm not sure.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah.
I don't know.
You should be advised. Give us this damn sequel.
Yeah, we want the sequel, and we're going to get that sequel. I am really confident.
And we are not only the two guys here in the stream, but thousands and thousands of people out there who love the first movie of Alita. And
oh, yeah.
Now we are in urgent need to get these damn sequels.
Yeah. Well,
Come on.
I know my channel is approaching 260,000 subscribers, so those folks, all of them probably want a sequel. So
listen carefully out there.
Yes, indeed. All right, well, let's move on. I guess we still got that LA Fires fundraiser going on, GoFundMe, and we've raised $1,377. I have put every dime of that so far into the Greater Good charity. They haven't, GoFundMe hasn't reimbursed me for everything yet, but they will. They always do. But when I get a kind of a thing like you see Angelus there, he put another $99 in there because Panini Freak and Brandon Baum joined us on Radio Chaos. I think it was last week or week before, and you know, he put an extra $99 in there, so that works out pretty good, you know. But and I've already sent all that money in there. I think GoFundMe probably owes me around $170 maybe, or I haven't checked my bank account today, so I don't know if something came in today. But yeah, I send that stuff all right over there to them. We really want to help these folks out. I mean, it would be a horrible prospect for sure to have your house destroyed by fire, because you remember I guess it was November or October, November last year is when those wildfires broke out and destroyed thousands of homes in the Pacific Palisades community. So that's pretty horrible, you know. So anyway, and I see Angelus is out there. Holy moly, yeah, Angelus, I know you're at work, so it's cool. So you know, that's no big deal. So if you can, the link is below the image on your screen there. That link is also down in the description, so you can click on that. Donate what you can. You can specify that to be anonymous if you want, or you can put your internet handle on there like you see Vladi did. He put his internet handle there. Panini Freak actually put her name in there, and so did Angelus. So you can see those folks, you know, give some money, and hey, you know, I mean, we're just helping out folks that need the help, and that's kind of what we in the Alita Army are all about. And we got the Alita sequel petition going, and we added 5 or 6 over last week. I can't remember exactly, but since I've started really promoting this, because I put some money in this thing about 2 weeks ago, I think it was. But ever since I've started adding money to this, we've increased by 224 signatures. So the idea here is you put your name and email address in there, and you can specify that to be anonymous as well. So you don't have to worry about your personal information getting out on the internet, because it can be pretty toxic. And, you know, if you want, you can donate. And of course, that's another area where no amount's too small. But you don't have to. If you want to sign the petition, that's all you have to do is just sign the petition. And then you have done your part as an Alita Army member. But you see, we've got well over 178,000 signatures, and we're approaching 180,000. So, and we know the Snyder Cut folks, they got their version of Justice League released when they only had 170,000. So, you know, we're 8,000 above that. So we're, you know, we're still pushing for it, for that sequel. And of course, we want the sequels, not just the sequel. And you see the link is below the image on your screen there, and that link is also in the description down below. So just click on it; it'll take you there, and you can sign a petition. And if you want, you can actually donate some money. And we do have Rosa's Queen Studios bust, and you know, she knows we have it. And we're just waiting for the right time for this to happen. You know, we want to take advantage of, you know, the stars being aligned right and all that stuff. But she does want it. So, and we do want to give it to her. So, you know, and this is for us, this is an expression of our admiration, appreciation, and affection for our queen. And this is a full size, you know, scale 1-to-1 model of Alita. And it's still in the box. Saravellian made me promise, you know, not to take it out of the box when he shipped it over here to me. And it's still in the box, still in my house. And whenever Rosa says I want it, I'm ready for it. and things, you know, the circumstances are just right for it, then, you know, we'll get this to her any way she wants. We've also got the Alita Gaming Network going on, and we got a whole bunch of different channels you can see there. If you do your own streaming, certainly you can, you know, put a link to your stream there, or if you just want to do a hangout, we got 3 different voice channels that you can actually, you know, kind of participate in. And I know Vladi and Smendrick, you know, they're in the gaming channel quite a bit, I think. And if you do fan fiction like Lee Lemon does, or say I even got my fanfic out there, which such as it is, it's just a very short story, but it's out there. Maxi's story's out there. I think Panini Freak story's out there. And I think even one of Channel's stories is out there. But anyway, you can, you know, upload any content you want. You know, if you do art, let's say, or you want to upload a video, you can do that as well. We do watch parties. Now, we were going to do a watch party last week, but that Rascal Creek couldn't make it because of something came up work related, and I couldn't do it. So, and this week I'm not going to be able to do it either because I got some work related coming up for this week. So it's going to prohibit me from doing it. So, but we will have another watch party. And I think the thought is, Spender, we wanted to watch Chariot, wasn't it? Wasn't that the one? That,
yes.
Yeah.
Very nice, very good music.
Yeah.
Movie, sorry.
Yeah, that's all right.
And, you have to watch it.
Oh, yeah.
It's absolutely great. And our queen.
Yep, our queen's in that one.
Very interesting character in this movie.
Well, the last time, our last watch party, we watched her in Good Crazy. That was a neat little short, which I enjoyed a lot. And we also, after that, we watched The Trouble with Edward. So that one, there's also a kind of a cute little, I like the way it ends too. I guess they ask her about, you know, that the one guy, you know, and, you know, what happened. And she said he was an idiot. I really like that. It's pretty funny. So, you know, kind of in a real formal thing, she says he was an idiot. So that's pretty cool. So, but anyway, we do some fun things here. You see the link there that's also down in the description below our Chibi Alita there. Mascot is down in the description. And, you know, you don't have to pay anything. Discord usernames are easy, or rather, they are easy, but they're also free. And you don't have to pay the Creek or Matu or I or anybody in the Alita Army any money to join the gaming network, because it's also free. You just, you know, just click on that link and you get the invite. And for some reason, if it doesn't work for you, you can shoot me a DM or something like that, and I'll send you another link. So, but I think that link works pretty good now. In the old days, we had to, when we first started this, we had to do a link every week because the link was only good for 7 days. But after a channel or a server like this basically gets established, then they'll let you do a permanent link. So you just click on it and you get the invite. You can click on that and you come into the gaming network. If you don't have a Discord username, you'll have to sign up for one, obviously. But that's free, as I said, and they'll want your email address for login, but you don't have to use that, you know, for your, I guess, a handle that for your PFP, you know, that you're going to be using on that. So, you know, like for instance, on the gaming network here, I'm Creek Indian on that as well, and that's not my name. So, and Smendrick is not his name, and he's on it. So, you know, you can pick any avatar and any name you want, and you know, just come and join us on this network. It's still pretty small because we're not aggressively pushing it, you know, because I think the folks that are in here, they kind of like it small, and we're not, this isn't a money making enterprise. You know, we're certainly not trying to, we're not trying to earn any money out of this. This is just another way for us to try to promote our girl, you know, to see if we can get as many people interested as we can in the in getting the sequel, and you know, that's what we're all about in the Elite Army, about the sequel. So sequels. Any thoughts there, Smendrick, about this? Because I know you and Blotty get on here quite a bit.
We never talked about it before, but I would like to see these sequels.
We've never talked about it, really?
Yeah, never ever, but here I tell you a secret. I'm here for the Alita sequels.
Yes.
Yeah, and I know you don't like it, Disney, but it's time, really. Over 6 years.
We're gonna get it.
Giving us the last movie. Yeah, 6 years and more waiting for the Alita sequels is enough. Okay.
Yeah, well, you know.
Thanks for understanding, Disney. Thanks for understanding Rob Rod and all the other staff and actors and actresses out there. Give us the sequels.
Well, it's kind of like Johnny Kendall was saying a while ago that Robert Rodriguez is still talking to Cameron about this, and I know our queen is she's she told Charlie and I that she is working on it. You know, that the three of them do want to do a sequel. You know, and they're still after it. So I'm pretty confident. You know, we're going to get it. So because those three are pretty important folks in Hollywood, I think. You know, and I think if push comes to shove, they're going to get it. You know, so it's just a matter of us keep doing what we're doing, and it's I guess what is it? He is awarded who waits or something. He who waits gets awarded, or whatever it is. I'm not sure, but we'll get that sequel. I'm pretty sure of that. So
what you are waiting for, Disney? Come on. If it is done, it's done. So
well, I think Avatar 3 is. I think it's in post right now. I think it is, and I think they're filming Avatar 4 and 5, or at least that's kind of what's on IMDb anyway. They're filming it, so they say. I think they did shot a lot of that, I guess, video, when those kids were still relatively young, because they didn't want, as time goes on, kids kind of grow up real fast. Where us adults, we don't really grow or anything like that. So we can kind of get away with things for 20 years or more, but they can't, because they grow up so fast. So I think they shot a lot of that stuff, while some of those folks were still kids. Now that said, Sigourney Weaver, she played Kiri, and Kiri, is a teenager in that thing, and Sigourney Weaver's 70 years old. So, I think, that anything's possible.
Not
nowadays.
longer a teenager, believe me, and I don't want to wait another 6 years or more till the green light by Disney. So press the button. Press the button, Disney top management. Press the button, decision makers, and show us the green light. Come on.
Well, we're going to get it here pretty quick. I'm confident. So anyway, we'll leave it at that. So okay. Well, anyway, join us on the Elita Gaming Network. We have a lot of fun with this. Mattu and I do manage it, or we we're kind of the administrators on it, but we don't really have to do a lot here. We've never had to kick somebody off for acting inappropriately or bullying or uploading inappropriate or untoward comments or videos or art or anything like that. We haven't had to do any of that. And, because the folks in the Elite Army are pretty respectful, we just want to have fun with this and just keep doing what we're doing until we get that sequel, so. Okay, well, I guess having said that, if anybody wants to come on, really all you got to do is click on the link that you're going to see right now in your chat. That'd be this link right here. And you click on that, I'll bring you in, and we can talk about Alita. We don't have to stick to the main topic because we do have a topic, but we don't have to stick to it. We frequently kind of divert away from the topic, and we talk about Alita, or we'll talk about Rosa, or we'll talk about, some other Alita Battle Angel related topic of some sort, and then keep going for that. Looks like Johnny Kendall there. Yeah, he verifies that. Yep. Avatar 3 is it's in post production, and I guess they're pushing things back a couple of years at least, and that's a good hint right there that something's up. But that's we'll just be patient and wait for the folks that we care about a lot in this IP to make it happen for us. Okay, so anyway, onward to the topic, I guess, and what we want to kind of go over here today is just kind of the antagonists and the villains. I got these in two different groups like this because there are some folks that do oppose Alita that are not really her enemies, or they're not villains. For instance, like Joshigan's an example. Yes, he does oppose her in Motorball, but he's not her enemy. I mean, they're not like a fight to the death kind of, opponents, as it were. Although I would say, if you've read the manga, you know what happens to Joshigan. But anyway, they're more like combatants in a sports related type theme. So is Toji. We'll get to that in a little while. Now, Erica, some would say, yeah, she's a villain. But I have mixed feelings about that because I think when Erica was a little girl, her and Alita were really close, when they were on Mars together, when Alita was like a toddler and Erica was like 6 years old or something like this. And, they both they were both actually just roaming the area, and they had people that would, like they had that Dr. Finch, I guess, it was taking them to New Cydonia and that sort of stuff. And, fed them B-mite and all that kind of good old stuff, so they could, have something to eat, I guess. And she and Alita actually loved each other at that point. I think although Alita was a toddler, she wasn't, and she wasn't Alita then, she was Yoko, but of course, then Erica does become an enemy later on. And that's, if you've read the manga, you know that story. Now, the folks that I would say are definitely enemies, or what we would say villains here, certainly Den. He's the guy there in the upper right corner that you see, kind of a really giant guy, that I guess he had, one of his bodies is a scimitar type thing. And he leads the Barjack. And then, of course, we know Gruwishka is an enemy because he was at one point, according to the novelization, he was a serious contender for final champion. So I guess, had he not gone off the rails, maybe he and Joshigan would have competed for a final champion. And then there's Aga Mbadi, and, he's kind of a guy that's kind of running the operations or whatever of Jeru, or the Star City, as it were, or Catherias in the manga. And then, of course, we know Nova in the movie. He's kind of the guy in charge in Zalem. In the manga, he's not that. He's more of just like some kind of weird, twisted, evil scientist of some sort that does experiments on people, to try to discover karma or something like this. And of course, then we know Zapan. Zapan basically is, he was a hunter warrior that in the movie actually, he kind of stabs. Well, we see in the movie, but he stabs Hugo, and then of course, Alita really when her first really up close meeting with Zapan, she humiliates him in the Kansas bar. And then at the end, you know, when he was trying to frame Hugo for a murder, Alita cuts his face off. So I mean, that's you know, so he doesn't like Alita very much, you know, because of what, you know, he feels like, you know, that she's done him wrong and that sort of thing. But in my mind, he kind of brought it on himself a lot of ways. And in the novelization, he's kind of a narcissist. You know, he's always trying to get upgrades to his face and that sort of thing to kind of make himself look pretty and that kind of stuff like that. Now you look at that image there in the middle on the bottom down there, you know, that guy, you know, I mean, I think Ed Skrein is a kind of a sort of a, you know, he's kind of a good looking guy, I guess, but you know, he doesn't look good looking there. He looks kind of evil right there to me. So anyway, what's your thoughts, Sarah Spendrick?
Yeah, I agree with you in all points so far. So let's go on.
Okay, so anyway, the first person we want to talk about is Den. Now, Smendrick, have you read the manga?
Not with the focus on this guy, but
Yeah.
maybe you can explain us what exact the Barjack is and what exactly this guy.
Well, this guy is kind of he's a leader of the Barjack, and you know, he's a giant is what he is, and his body, I guess that he uses for combat looks like a huge minotaur, you know, and he's got 4 legs and and he's got what looks to be almost like a horse's body, but he has a human front to him, you know. Now another thing about this guy is he shares consciousness, or at least there's been some sort of you know, I guess some sort of relationship, but I think it's mostly a shared consciousness with Chaos that's in the story, and Chaos is one of Nova's son. So anyway, that's kind of one of those things, and of course it's like the two of them, for some, I don't know if they don't share a consciousness per se where they can read each other's thoughts and see out of each other's eyes, but I think that his consciousness, Den's consciousness, if I can explain this right, is kind of spawned from Chaos's consciousness. So you know, he's basically you know, he's kind of like a mental clone, if you want to think of it, although he doesn't look like Chaos, you know. Oh, I see Ash Blackwind's out there. Ash, God, man, I hadn't seen from you in a long time, you know. Oh yeah, I want Screwhead to come back. You know, I mean, I've said this many times on streams because I really think the world of Elle Lamont. She's great, you know, and I've seen her in some other stuff, you know, and she's really good, you know, what she does. She's a good actor herself, you know, and you know, she's up for a team up with Alita. Now, the way we've talked about it when we interviewed her, oh God, I guess it's been 3 years now, but you know, the way she put it is that what she would like to see is that Screwhead figured out that she's being used, you know, as a pawn, and you know, I guess Vector was just trying to get at Alita to get her heart so he'd give it to Nova, and Screwhead was kind of, in her mind, was like taking advantage of it in some way, and she said, okay, she makes up with Alita, and you know, basically they get on the same team, you know, and I think, to put it in Elle's words, she said, okay, girl, you know, I'm with you. Let's just burn it all down. So that was really funny. But yeah, I do want Screwhead to come back for sure. And I say that at the end of the stream every week, you know, so, but I don't think she would come back as a villain unless, you know, something is written in the script that says, okay, Screwhead comes back and is a, you know, kind of a team up with Alita sort of thing, but then there's a twist to where she betrays Alita, you know, or tries to, you know, so who knows, you know, that would be interesting too as well. But I think the idea here is, though, the way Elle had put it, that she would come back as kind of someone that has Alita's back because she thought she was done dirty, you know, by Vector and Nova and that sort of thing. So since I heard the ad interview, yeah, it's been at least 3 years. I think I can't remember exactly when what was it. Might have been Radio Chaos number 116, but I'm not sure about that. You got to go back and check, I guess. Ash, you know, all you got to do is type in L. Lamont Screwhead, you know, and you'll in the search engine on when you go to Radio Chaos's YouTube channel, and it'll pop up. You know, we had a lot of fun on that interview too. I mean, Elle was great, man. I mean, we interviewed her, and she. A lot of times you interview some folks and they stick around for maybe 30 minutes, maybe 45, you know, or an hour, but she stayed, you know, the entire time because she was having a lot of fun, you know, with us, you know, and of course I think Lita Calagridis was another one that stayed for the entire interview, you know, so we had fun with her as well. But now I don't know anything about the script or the treatment or whatever it is, Cameron, his notes, what he's got going now. You know, I know he has something on paper. I know that, but you know, but I don't know the content. You know, I truly don't. So, you know, who knows? Maybe, hopefully, they do bring Screwhead back because I'd love to see that. And I did get a reply from Elle on one of my Instagram posts that where I replied to one of her posts. I said something that I wanted to see her come back as Screwhead. And she replied to that, said that is something I could be on board for, you know, for an Alita team up or something like that. So anyway, the actors all want to do a sequel. There's no doubt about it. They want to do it, you know. So I just think it's a matter of time. So anyway, I got off the track here. But anyway, this guy Den, he's the head of the Barjack, and one of the I guess their primary objective is to bring down Zalem. That's what they want. They want to, you know, they got a big rail gun looking thing or on a rail car. They got a gigantic cannon. It looks like maybe a 20-inch barrel or something like that on that thing. And they're going to try to, shoot the supply tube that goes up from Trefares up to Teferes up to Catheres, or in other words, Zalem up to Jeru. And the idea was to bring it all down, you know. And there was one scene in there with Alita that said she didn't like Zalem either, but you know, you're going to kill a lot of innocent people if you do that, you know. And he said that's something to the effect of that's collateral damage or something like that. So that put him at odds with Alita when he said that. So, but he's pretty powerful. He and Alita do fight, you know, and. I'm not going to tell you who won because I want y'all to read the manga, you know, because it's really good. It's one of my favorite arcs too. It's in the Badlands arc, so where Alita is more than just she's more than a teenage girl. She's kind of like a tuned agent who's a warrior, you know, and she's doing what she does, you know, what she can do best. So Anyway, Smendrick, I know you haven't read the manga, but anything, Ash, if you want to come on, here's the link right here. You can just click on that. We'll bring you on if you want to. You don't have to, of course. Or anybody else, Johnny Kendall, if you're out there, certainly you can. And if Lee, if you got your coughing under control, you can come on as well. So
yeah, come on to the stream.
Yeah, we have fun here. So anyway, but
yeah.
Den, I would say Den is a villain. Oh, not because so much that he's a bad guy, because in the manga it's a lot of times there's no discernment between good and bad. I mean, there's always shades of gray in there, you know. But the fact that he wants to bring down Zalem on top, or Teferes on top of Iron City or the scrapyard in the manga, and kill innocent people just to get rid of Teferes, then that makes him a villain in my mind, you know. And of course, Alita's going to oppose him on that, you know. So, and they do end up fighting. So, any thoughts, Kent Smendrick?
Yeah, I think it's enough stuff for a really good sequel.
Yeah.
Or maybe if this guy isn't in the sequels, yeah, for some interesting folks. Yeah. This Alita mangas have enough stuff for the for a totally really interesting entire Alita movie universe. Yeah, cinematic universe, as you say.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
give us those sequels. Show us in the movie on the big screen those big guys.
well, I think in this case, now this is my opinion. I don't have anything to base this on, but I think, yeah, he's a. Let me put what Ash has up there. Yeah, he is kind of like the big boss. That's right, for sure. And of course, the Pan and Grishka are. I think we're going to get to them as well. I think Dan is more of a revolutionary, though. I think he sees Zalem as oppressing the people that are out in the Badlands, I guess, and he wants to bring them down. Now, what makes him a villain to me is he's going to kill, millions of people in Iron City just to get rid of Zalem, which is not something that makes him a villain in my mind. So, but yeah, Alita fights him, and here's the way I see this going. I was about to say, I see the second movie as being containing both the Motorball arc and the Zapan arc, or the Zerker-Pan arc, as we call it, where Alita, kind of competes in the Champions League or the First League, whatever you want to call it, or in the beginning of the movie, and then at the end of the movie she fights Zerker-Pan, or Zapan, because Zapan gets a hold of the Berserker body is what he does. And I don't know how they're going to work that out, of course, because we've heard that Alita doesn't want to be in the Berserker body because that's the body she was in when she lost Hugo. So yeah, maybe. But I think if they want to stay true to the manga, they're going to have Zapan and the Berserker body. So anyway, in my opinion, and this is only my opinion, I think Alita 2 or Alita Fallen Angel will be the Motorball arc and the Zerker-Pan arc. And then Alita 3 or Alita Avenging Angel is going to be the Badlands arc. Okay. And they might even touch, as maybe a teaser at the end of Alita 3, maybe something to do with, I guess, we lost Smendrick. His internet must have died. A touch on the Last Order or something like that, kind of like another sequel teaser, like they did at the end of the movie, and and then go from there. Because for one thing, as time goes on in these sequels, in the manga, probably at least 14, 15, maybe even 16 years go by, from when Ito finds Alita in the scrapyard up until the very end of the Last Order. So Alita is in her mid-30s by the time she gets to the end of the Last Order. Now, at the end of the Badlands arc, she's probably in her early to mid-20s, I would guess. She may even be approaching 30. I'm not sure, but she at least mentally. Now, of course, Alita is really over 300 years old. So, I mean, it's kind of stupid to say she's 30, but she really is over 300 years old, What is this? Yeah, that's right. He wasn't done well. I don't say they wouldn't done well. I think where the mismatch came in, Ash, is that they didn't give Gruishka any kind of a backstory in the movie, which you really can't do for everybody when you only got a 2-hour movie. So, I mean, that's kind of what that was, I guess. So, but anyway, that's what Den is. I think that's when he'll appear is in Alita Avenging Angel, or Alita 3 is when we'll see him, because he's in the Badlands arc. And in my opinion, in Alita 2, Alita Fallen Angel, you know, she doesn't really get to the Badlands arc, or at least start the Badlands arc. There's Smendrick. We lost you there, Smendrick.
Yeah, everything broke down. I'm not sure if it is the internet connection or the computer, because I lost the backlighting of my keyboard here, and everything was disconnected. Mic and camera and whatever, and even the mouse and keyboard doesn't work. Sometimes it's strange.
Yeah, you love it when technology doesn't work for you,
But
does it?
I'm sure I paid my energy bills correctly, so I don't know.
Yeah. But anyway, as I was saying about Dan, or about more specifically the Badlands arc, I don't think we'll even see that part of it until the very end of Alita Fallen Angel, when she's maybe on the train, you know, and she's on, you know, she's playing the harmonica on that train, and on the atomic train, and or nuclear train, whichever you want to call it, and she meets Figure 4, you know, at the very end of Alita 2. And then, of course, Figure 4 would be with her through Alita 3, or a good portion of it anyway. So that's what I think is going to happen, based on my opinion, and it's only my opinion. So, yeah, he is kind of a political villain, isn't he? Yeah, that's right. He hates Zalem. He definitely does, you know, and I think Alita does too, you know, but she doesn't want to kill all those innocent people just to get rid of Zalem, you know. So, you know, it's one of those things where the price is too high to get rid of it or something, you know. Anyway, that's kind of what I know about Den. So, anybody, you got any thoughts there, Symmetric?
Yeah, as I said before, if there isn't enough time to focus on this guy in one of the next 2 or 3 sequels, then they should do a fork. Yeah. I wouldn't mind to watch 3 hours or 4 hour movies.
If the Creek has his way, there'll be 4. But if Creek has his way, there'll be 6 movies, and Alita ship. Rosa will be in every one of them as Alita. That's my way.
This would be great. Yeah.
Let me welcome Lee from Fountain, Colorado, which is way south of Denver and even south of Colorado Springs, really. How's it going, Lee?
Oh, not bad considering.
Sounds like you got a cold, man.
Yep.
Oh, gosh.
Hi, Lee.
You guys got snow down there, Lee?
Yeah, it's coming down pretty heavy.
Yeah, it's coming down pretty good here, too. Yeah, it was 72 degrees or 22 degrees Celsius here yesterday, and now it's 0 and snowing. Wow, you know, pretty amazing. So, any thoughts about Dan, Lee?
Well, as somebody mentioned, he is a revolutionary. He is a bit of an extremist. I think he's a bit of an idiot.
Yeah, you could say that. Yeah, he is the leader, though, isn't he?
Oh yeah, he's very impressive, very intimidating, very awe-inspiring.
Yeah,
you can definitely see why so many people follow him. But I mean, his goals are certainly not something I can get behind. You know, dropping an entire city on top of another city.
Yeah, that's not too
killing
good.
Millions of people.
Yeah, just to get rid of that. Just to get rid of Zalem, he's willing to kill 2 million people. So no, that's not good.
It could be more than that. I mean, you could have about 2.5 to even 3 million people packed into just Iron City alone.
Yeah.
That's the thing. They don't really go into population levels on it or anything. So.
No, it doesn't. You know, well, I just judge it based on what the population here is in Denver. I think the metro area has between 2.5 and 3 million. I think something like that. So, you know, it's not as big as LA, but I mean, it's big. You know. So.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's kind of what I know about Den. You know, he didn't actually, he did not intimidate Alita, did he?
Not really, no. I think she was impressed with his ability, but
yeah,
because being as big as he is, she should have been able to handle him more easily.
Mm.
But his size didn't hinder him in dealing with her. So I think that was about the only positive feeling she might have had towards him.
Yeah.
Or, yeah, she wasn't intimidated by him.
Yeah.
I don't think he's ever really intimidated by anybody.
I don't think so. You know, I can't. The only person I think she really kind of got, I wouldn't say intimidated, but she was a little bit afraid when she fought Makaku, you know, when she, in the manga, and then she turned that fear into a weapon for her to use. So, you know, that I think, but she wasn't even intimidated by Makaku really. So, or Garishka. So, all right, well, let's move on, I guess, to Gruishka. And in the manga, you know him as Makaku. I think he's called Gruishka or Grusika or whatever it is in the anime. And he's kind of a big, hulking, you know, just brute is based. Yeah, that's right. Basically what he is. And at one point, you know, in the novelization, he was a really famous motorballer. And he was a serious challenger for a final champion. And, you know, he would have probably been challenging Joshigan. But he kind of went off the rails in the backstory anyway. Of course, they didn't do much of a backstory. They didn't do any backstory on him in the movie. But, you know,
well, they had one planned because there was the script that was used to write the novelization, but it got dropped because of time constraints.
Yeah, because you know, it's like I say, you only have 2 hours to do this, and they can't give backstories to a bunch of people in a 2-hour movie. You know, I mean, they barely gave Alita much of a backstory, really. So you know, so anyway. But yeah, he's I guess he's Nova's champion in the movie. And he was the leader of a trio of criminals that were, I guess, killing people for their body parts. You know, Nisiana and Romo, and of course, Alita took care of those two, and then really ended up taking care of him too as well. You know, but yeah, he's kind of a big hulking brute. There's no strategy behind what he does. He just does it, you know. So what is
he's
this?
He's a brawler.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And what's this, Ash Black? Ash, it's really good to see you out there, man. I haven't seen you in quite a while. Let's see. The power of AI can probably turn the manga into anime. Yeah, okay. That is a great idea, actually. You know, although they'd have to get unless they wanted somebody to type it in, they'd have to get, well, they could get the images. I guess they could do image to video, but, you know, I guess, to me, AI is kind of, you know, it's getting better and better and better, but it's still,
it's iffy.
It's still a little kludgy, you know, a little bit. So, but I'm sure if, you know, I guess if Cameron was going to use AI to any great extent, he surely wouldn't be using what we use, us in the public, you know. So, 500K budget. I think Cameron could beat the Rodriguez put together a hell of a movie for what, 170 million was what it was. So, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it all depends on the use of AI.
Yeah.
Do you use it to improve the presentation of a normal scene, on a classic scene, or do you use it to generate a scene? As long as you use it as a tool to improve the action scenes or the outfit of the characters or whatever, that's okay for me. Yeah, look at Avatar. Look at all these motion capture and performance capture things AI can support. But I think we need another 2-3 years maybe to get some AI generated scenes that that can compare with normal cinema. Yeah,
Oh, I think it's a long way from that because
it's
I know I've done some AI videos. Now I'm using what's publicly accessible, of course, but I've done some videos where Alita is fighting Thanos, and you type up the prompt and you fine tune it, tweak it, and some of the imagery that comes out of that thing is just really, really hilarious.
Yeah,
it's just really. I did one. I was telling my brother about. I did one where Alita was supposedly kicking Thanos, and I had her doing like a flying sidekick in the face, where she was going to, just kind of, start the process of beating the crap out of him, And when I typed all that in and I fine tuned it and I finally, submitted it, and it came up with the weirdest looking thing, and it came up with one of her legs was off, and and Thanos had one of her boots in his mouth, and he was holding her kind of like a baby, sort of thing. And I laughed my butt off at that thing. And I said, okay, we got a long way to go with AI to be able to do something like this, Now that said, I've seen some pretty good AI videos out there, as long as you keep things kind of, simple, what Alita's doing.
Yeah, as a tool, as I said, Creaky, as long as you use AI as a tool, to improve, the visible things in a scene, But as soon as you try to create a content with AI, a total scene, physics, whatever, then it gets more and more difficult. You have to train this engines or bots or however you would call it, and
it's got a long way to go.
A long way to go.
Yeah, let me welcome Chaos Nova from Mentor, Ohio. How's it going, Chaos?
Oh, all right. I did do an old animation, but that was Photoshop and GIF Maker.
Yeah, you can do some stuff with it. You certainly can. But it's. It's. I was just telling them I did some. It was hilarious with what I came up with. Online. So, I mean, you tell it. Like, for instance, on one I said Thanos is not wearing the Infinity Gauntlet, or is not wearing a gauntlet, and it still gives him a gauntlet.
Oh yeah.
So it still does that. So anyway. By the way, I told Spendrick this too. If you guys, when we get to the after party, the Stomptish, I'm going to show some of the video or show some of the images I'm going to use for one of my videos coming up. So we're going to kind of go over that, So
all right.
Anyway, what's going on, Chaos? What you got coming up on your channel, man?
I'm going to try and figure something out.
Okay. Well, put it in a private chat. I'll put it out there for folks.
Yep. Yeah, let me see. I need to find it first.
Yeah.
Go on.
So anyway, Lee, what's your take on Gruishka in terms of his status as a villain to Alita?
Well, he's the big bad's underling. He's a brawling thug. not much to really say about him. He's got a bit of a sad backstory with the what they had planned. It never got into the movie, unfortunately. But if you're talking about Makaku from the manga, he's a bit more. I mean, he had a pretty tragic backstory.
Yeah, I think the idea was... Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, man, he had that unusual ability to basically take over other bodies, full cyborg bodies, that is.
Yeah.
But,
well, I think his backstory, his parents discarded him in the sewer, didn't they, or something?
Yeah, his mother, I think, flushed him into the sewer.
Yeah. Which is, for a little kid, that'd be horrible. You know, was he, I think he was a baby, wasn't he?
As from what I understand, yeah. So somehow, I think he might have been some kind of a mutant, because I don't see how else he would have survived down there as an infant.
Well, I think Nova took him up pretty early on, didn't he?
After he got burned with fire,
Yeah, he was going through the sub-levels, and he came to a grate that showed the street side, or the upper street, and people walking around, and he was sort of wondering, what the world was like up there, because I guess he had never been up, and some punks came along with a homemade flamethrower and fired it into the sewer and burned him really bad. Oh, excuse me. It like gave him 3rd-degree burns across one arm and one shoulder, and I think one side of his face. And as he was dying, he got found by Nova, who gave him a new body.
Wanted to see how that karma would work out with him, huh?
Yep.
I guess so. What about you, Chaos? What's your thoughts on Grishka?
There's just a lot we don't know. I mean, we keep assuming that he's Makaku, but he's not. I mean, we hear he said a few words to Alita in the film about what happened to him, and that's it. And if you go into the anime movie, there's pretty much nothing. He's just there.
Yeah, it was a rather loose association, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That part about, I'm going to turn you into a living pendant to adorn my chest so I can hear you, pleading for mercy or something like that, to that effect. That was, I guess, they adopted that one. So. Yeah. And the manga is really dark. They had to pick that one panel of Alita, as kind of he was envisioning that of how she looked like a pendant, and she looked just sad, It just kind of made you hate him even more. So. Oh,
the only other clue we have about Grishka is the guy in the bar said, "I thought you were dead," that he kills them. That's it.
Yeah. 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 What happened to him? And out came that grind cutter and poked him and went right through him. So.
Well, he thought he was dead, but he's not.
Yeah. Yeah, he's just a brute, this guy is. And of course he acknowledges Nova as his master, so. Any thoughts from you, Smendrick, on this, or?
No, it's a good summary. Okay.
It was really satisfying seeing Alita split him in half. I guess Ash said something about that right here, but it was really satisfying to see her take him out, because he kind of underestimated her at the end there, I think, not realizing what that berserker body was capable of, and of course that once, she made her mind up, that fight didn't last 10 seconds and he was dead. So what's this right here? Okay, Ash says in the manga, I believe Grishka was festering and slowly rotting away. It's very tragic. It made him a monster and have the mindset of a predator, because it's either him or the world who hated him. Yeah, that's a pretty on spot on.
Well, the way he works is he needs endorphin. There's 2 ways to get endorphin: the brain or chocolate. You tell me what you're gonna feed him, then.
Yeah.
That's I don't know. Would it take how much chocolate would it take though to do the same effect? I don't know.
Oh, probably several pounds. Probably. Okay, no other thoughts on this guy? I guess we can move on because there's not much to this guy really. He's a brute, he's a murderer, and that's about it. That's about all you can say about him with a terrible backstory. So now here's a guy that's got something. This guy here is kind of, I guess you could call him the operational manager if you want to think of him as that of Jeru, I guess. And, you know, he's a pretty powerful being. I think he got 3 brain chips. Is that what he's got? I can't remember.
Yeah, that's why they call him Trinidad.
Yeah. So he's, you know, he's got some pretty significant compute power, you know. And, of course, he, I don't think Alita was ever, you know, I don't think she was, you know, ever really intimidated by him. But he did have, there was a moment there where he kind of dominated her a little bit. You see on the right.
Yeah, he humiliated her, but she was never intimidated by him.
Yeah, for sure. You know, although eventually she bitch slaps him. So,
well.
Yeah, he had that coming, I guess. But yeah, this guy here he's kind of like, in some ways, like in the movie, like Nova is in the movie. You know, he's kind of the guy in charge up in Jeru or Catheris, you know, and I think he's a big sponsor or a big promoter or producer or whatever you want to call him of the Zot, you know. And I think it was the 10th Zot that Alita competed in, wasn't it? Something like that. So he's but he's also a sadistic bastard, is what he is. And he's very narcissistic. You know, but he does have some power. Now, I don't think he's as powerful as Alita. You know, because in that Imaginos body, you know, I mean, certainly he's powerful, but I don't think he has the power that she has. But he did humiliate her. So, I mean, at one point. So, anyway, that's about all I know about this guy because it's been so long since I've read about him. I do know that he was on. I think there was a scene in the manga where he was on Pluto, wasn't it? Something like that.
Yes, that was in the past.
Yeah.
He was on an expedition. His wife died. He survived that one.
Yeah, that's right. So
because I mean, it was so cold that even their suits could only hold them out so long, protect them for so long.
Yeah. Here's a video from Chaos Nova if anybody wants to check it out. Just click on that and it'll take you right to it. So anyway, and now Svendrik, I know you haven't read this far in the manga, have you? I don't think.
No, not really.
Yeah, because this is a guy toward the end of the First Order, I think. Lee, you've read this, though, haven't you?
Yeah, but it was a while ago.
Yeah, what's your take on this guy?
He started out a good guy, and well, power corrupts.
Yeah,
and he got corrupted.
He doesn't like mutants. That's a point that comes up later.
Yeah.
Okay, but yeah, he became something of a tyrant, I think.
Yeah.
He didn't want to lose, so he became a dick.
Well, he's kind of when he was married before his wife died, he's kind of a normal guy, wasn't he? Or he was.
Yeah, like I said, from the impression I got from his earlier backstory, from a long time before he ended up where he was in the Last Order, was that he wasn't necessarily a bad guy. He seemed like he was actually a pretty good guy.
Yeah. I guess losing his wife and child probably tainted him pretty bad.
Yeah. Could be part of it. I think part of it.
I'd say that he overcompensated for it, and he just felt that I'll do everything he could to kind of force tragedies not to happen. But then it's at the point where he's taking people out and he's eliminating actual people to accomplish his goal. as he sees fit.
And I think that, and part of it might have been he had that Methuselahization treatment, which means
Yeah.
he's lived a very long time. And I think
He
he
went
lived long
mad.
enough to see himself become the villain.
Yeah. That bad man says Alita. I got that right. Alita was in the 10th Zot. Yeah, that's right. Bad man. Embody was the assistant chairman of the Ladder. That's right. And created the Zot. Yeah, that's right. Now I seem to remember that. And he was the leader of something called the Order, I guess, a security force that traveled interplanetary space. Yep. So he was probably just I wouldn't say a normal guy, but I mean, because 500 years in the future, I mean, people would be pretty different than they are today. Kind of like,
Well, no, he's like 200. He's a little bit. He's under 300. So
he's chronologically speaking, he's about Alita's age then. So
right.
yeah.
Well,
Although
he's Alita's age in the movie. In the manga,
Yeah.
she was 200.
Yeah, in the manga, she's 200. That's right. So yeah, it's going to be. Now, this is a guy I think that he will appear in the third movie, I think. No, excuse me. He won't appear in the sequels, I don't think. What I was about to say was I got confused. If they do a fourth movie, that would be where he would appear. Or if they do a series about the Zot, that's when he will appear. Okay, because he's one of the guys responsible for putting together the Zot, you know. So the Zenith of Things tournament, you know, that Alita ends up winning. And I think 9 years in a row, they kind of had, I guess what you could call the corporate or national interests or planetary interests or whatever that put these teams together. And they never had a rogue team like Alita's show up and win, you know, like they did, you know. So it's just another way of saying don't underestimate our girl. So any other thoughts about Embody? All right,
I think this will be a very interesting story. I read about his relationships, for example, to Cerula, Pingwu, Destino, and so on. And that is.
Well, Ping Wu was actually Alita's when they were in the Zot. She was kind of he wasn't team captain. He was like team manager or something, or coach or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't call Ping Wu a villain or an antagonist. Although he does betray her eventually, I think, from what I remember. It's been a while since I've read the manga, so anyway, I think that Embody would show up because he would show up in a series, because I don't think they can do enough justice to a movie, just like a 2 or 3 hour movie for the Zot. You know, the Zot is kind of way drawn out, you know, because you think about they got all these teams that are competing, you know, and they have all these stories going on, and of course Alita's kind of doing her thing, like she's somewhat of a spy, I guess, trying to move around Jeru, you know, and compete in the Zot at the same time, and there's a lot going on. I just don't think that there's they could do enough for it in a movie. What's this bad man? Yeah, it was never a non-military team. That's what I was. Yeah, the Zot. Yeah, Alita was in. She was kind of like the de facto team captain, if you want to call it that, of the Space Angels. You know, and yeah, that's right. They should have been considered a military team because Alita certainly was in the military. So was Zazie. And Zazie was on Alita's team, and Zex certainly was part of. He came out of the Tuned program as well. He's AR6, one of Alita's, I guess, you couldn't call him a clone, because clone would be more organic, but, you know, kind of a copy or duplicate, if you want to call it, or a replicant is what he was. And he, of course, he didn't like being female, so he decided he'd be male, you know. So, but anyway, yeah, but I think you could have considered them military, but I think they were talking about the various organized militaries, you know, had teams in there, I think is what it was. So that's a bad man's point. Okay, anybody got anything else about Embody? I didn't like this guy the first time I read the first panel he was in. I didn't like this guy. So, yeah, what's this? Jupiter and Venus, I guess is what you meant, Batman. Seeded teams, unfair advantage of most. Yeah, they would put their teams in the first and second seed or whatever it was, so they wouldn't have to, you know, play some of their teams wouldn't have to play in some of the earlier rounds, I guess. So it made it a big disadvantage to the other teams. That's right. All right, well, moving on, I guess we got Nova, and of course we know a little bit about this guy, don't we?
We do.
Now the guy on the right, that's Destiny Nova, isn't it? Chaos? I don't remember. Is that the Nova that likes Flan? I'm not sure about who that guy is, but of course the guy on the left is Edward Norton. He played Nova in the movie. So. But this guy in the movie, he's portrayed as someone who's somebody of somewhat power in Zalem, if not the most powerful guy in Zalem. In the manga, he's not. He's just a kind of a crazy ass, you know, cynical, psychotic scientist, you know, that does experiments on people. I don't know if he's trying to improve the human race or if he's just trying to see what karma would do if he makes these kinds of changes or whatever he does. And he has no regard for human life whatsoever. You know, he just does not, you know, so he's pretty much a bastard, I think. Now, we don't know enough about Nova in the movie because they only show him like 2 times in the entire movie. You know, that one training scene they show kind of like a hologram of him, you know, when I guess when Gelda and Alita were training in the gravity chamber. But at the end of the movie, of course, well, certainly we see him kill Hugo. And at the very end of the movie, we see him looking down at Alita. She's pointing the Damascus blade up at him, saying, "I'm coming to get you, bub." So he's, but I think he's pretty much a guy has zero regard for human life. He's just plain freaking weird, is what he is. I think even in the manga, he's kind of weird. He does have a pretty hot girlfriend named Eli in the manga, anyway. And you know, those two are made for each other because she has zero regard for human life as well. Although she's, you know, for a manga drawn character, she's really cute, you know. So, but that's about all I can say about Nova. I mean, he certainly does experiments, and he, you know, I mean, he's just in the manga, he's down on Earth basically, and he has a laboratory and that kind of stuff. So anyway, Smendrick, any thought about Nova?
Yeah, I think he's a kind of, I would say, control freak.
Yes.
He wants to get everything under his control, even if he doesn't know what to do with this control. And that's, yeah, okay, you can hide behind science, but that wouldn't do it in this case. We have to learn more about him in the sequels, of course. Yeah. And yeah, I think he's experimenting with his power, the power of control. But is he really a science or a little child just playing around and looking what can be destroyed and what happened if it is destroyed? I'm not sure about him. So
Well,
we have to learn.
in the manga, he's he's doing that thing called karmatron dynamics. So he's trying to experiment to see how karma plays a role in different changes. Like, for instance, when he experiments on humans, what's that going to do to their karma or something like that? I think, if I'm not mistaken, Lee and Chaos, you might know something more about that than I do. But he, I think in terms of him, and to your point, Spendrick, about control, I do think that he's a guy that if he didn't know what to do with control like that, to me, he's the kind of guy that said, okay, I don't know what to do with control, but I'm going to experiment with this and see what I can do, So I think that's, even if it kills people, I think that's what he would do, because he's just that kind of guy.
Yeah,
So,
in this case, I think, or in his case, I think he stays always a little child. Yeah? Looking what happened if you push a glass from the table. Oh, it's broken. Oh, it was worth this or yeah. He doesn't understand the possibilities of control.
no, but he would experiment trying to figure it out, though.
yeah, and that's not really science in my understanding. Okay, it's more like playing around. Yeah, but maybe this will change in the sequels.
Yeah,
let's see.
Well, Ash Blackwin says the actor Edward Norton is very hard to work with, since I think you meant method actor. I don't think he's necessarily a Methodist in the Methodist religion, but method actor. So he is perfect as Noah, since he's also controlling. So yeah, maybe so, But yeah, I agree, Ash. He's a really good actor. I really liked him in The Bourne Legacy. He played a really good kind of a guy that was after Aaron Cross, who was played by Jeremy Renner. That is a great movie. I really enjoy that movie a lot. It's kind of like done in the spirit of the Jason Bourne movies, and they even have some linkages to it, So yeah. Anyway, Lee, what's your thoughts on Nova?
He's an evil weirdo.
Yes. Yeah, you're a lot more concise with it than I. Yes.
That sounds good.
Yes. What about you, Chaos? What's your thought? Because Nova is actually your dad, isn't he, Chaos? Are you there, Chaos? Chaos may have had to.
Yeah, he might be busy with something.
Busy with his kids or something, So yeah, I think Nova is just like Lee says, he's a weirdo. He has zero regard for human life, and he particularly loves fucking around with Alita, or at least messing around with her. I don't mean that literally. Sorry about that. He likes just kind of poking her. He likes doing stuff, just to see what happens when you. Like, for instance, before Alita fights Zerker Pan, he says, okay, I'm going to give you this gun with these collapse rounds on it. Do your worst. and then he sits back and says, let's see how this turns out. I think that's kind of what he does. I think he likes just fooling around and messing around with Alita's life like that, because it gives him pleasure. So he's very much a sadistic bastard too, I think. So.
Yeah, I think no systematical studies, but more, playing around, as I said before.
Now, there are times when he does help Alita. I mean, there was one scene, I guess, when she was in the Ouroboros that Alita was, I don't know if she was trying to figure out what she's going to do with her life or whatever she was doing. And he they're sitting down like on a hill or something together, and he starts talking to her almost like a father would talk to his daughter, you know. So anyway, and then there was another case, I guess when he was Supernova, I guess Alita wanted to get Erica back, and he said that's going to be difficult to do, but you know, he was intrigued by the idea of trying to convert a necro soldier back to a regular person, I guess, and so I think he helped her there, or at least attempted to, you know. So, but 90% of the time he's just a villain. He's just messing with her just to try to screw up her life, and then see what's she going to do to get out of this, you know, or something like that, you know, just like he's watching a movie or something, you know. So did I kind of hit that on the head, guys, or did I miss that completely?
I think that was about right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we can say we can agree.
Here's another guy, and I didn't put every villain because there's all kinds of people in the manga, of course, but Zapan. And I think not only here in the movie, but also in the manga, but in the novelization, Zapan is portrayed as somebody who's kind of really stuck on himself. You know, he's kind of like Alita said in the Kansas bar, you know, what could I learn from a loudmouth pretty boy who spends all of his money on his face, you know? Well, that's kind of the guy he is. He's kind of he's a narcissist. I think he thinks he's far superior to everybody around him. He doesn't give a shit about, you know, people's feelings or who he hurts or whatever. He just, you know, he's just an evil bastard, I think, you know. Now, in the manga, he does kind of do a little bit of a turnaround when he meets Sarah. You know, she kind of, he falls in love with Sarah, and of course, you know, I think he helps her in the soup kitchen and stuff like this, you know, because Sarah's, if you're a guy and you met a girl like Sarah, you know, you'd probably, you know, want to, you know, go out with her or sort of start a relationship with her, because she seemed like in the manga like a really super good person, you know. And then of course he sees Alita on TV and he just freaks, his brain goes sideways on him, and he kills Sarah, the love of his life. He cuts her head off, you know. So I think that's what he does, isn't it?
He backhands her, but her head comes off.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, but anyway, you know, he ends up, he's responsible for the death of the love of his life, and he blames Alita for it, you know. So you know, he wants to kill Alita at all costs, you know. So he's definitely a villain. I mean, he tried to frame Hugo so he could get at Alita, you know, because Alita humiliated him in the bar in front of all of those 100 warriors who he really thought, you know, that they thought he was kind of you know, the top dog in there. Although I had a feeling that McTeague didn't think that, because when Alita got up in his face, he kind of laughed, you know, when she said it might mess up your hair or something, you know, after he said, I'm going to pull your arms and leg off and roll your head around in the street, you know, and she said, oh, you might mess up your hair. And then he kind of chuckled at that, I think. So, but he's, you know, he's a guy that, you know, whatever he wants, no matter what it takes, killing people, framing people, doesn't matter. You know, he's going to do it. So,
well, yeah, it's only in the movie they did that. They cut the cyborg's head off so that Hugo would get blamed for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Otherwise, he was just straight up defending himself because Hugo was trying to, and Tanji are trying to take him apart.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. That was Demetrius Polito's character. Yeah, he wasn't in any condition to defend himself when Hugo arrived. So let's see. Zapan considered himself superior to the majority of Hunter warriors. He was unprepared to compete with someone who had been a professional Martian super soldier in a previous life. Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, he was just out of his league, you know, for sure. I mean, certainly he doesn't have that antimatter microreactor heart. He doesn't have the skill at fighting that Alita has, because now we don't get much of a backstory on him in the movie either, but I don't get the sense that he was a military trained individual. I think he just was a guy that ended up with that sword, with the Damascus blade, and he just went around collecting bounties. That's
well, he was good enough to eliminate criminals on the street.
Yeah, that's right. But that's not like fighting a Martian super soldier, though. That's that's.
I mean,
sure.
it depends. Some criminals in fiction and in real life do have military training.
Yeah, that's true, I guess, But I dare say, though, he didn't run up against anybody.
No, not Alita, but I'm just saying he's obviously proven to, let's say, eliminate criminals. Hence how he's a hunter warrior.
Yes. What is this ash black one? I don't believe it was a man's face. Is also similar to Alita's. I thought Zapan's face is his last remaining human part besides his brain. Yep. Personally, his face should have human, make it more personal. Yeah. And he was always working on his face. Alita kind of in the Kansas part kind of alluded to that, but in the manga they even talked about when he was chasing Hugo, that he actually stopped at one of the doctor's office or whatever to get his cheeks raised a little bit more. So he was pretty much a self-centered guy. He thought he was the prettiest guy on the planet, probably. So Smendrick, what do you think about his old Zapan? I think you're muted there, Smendrick. Well, Lee, what do you think?
Oh, sorry, I was just
That's right.
Battling
that
Zapan?
cold. Yeah.
Yeah, he was a narcissistic jackass.
Yeah.
He seemed to have a bit of a change of heart when he met Sarah, but unfortunately his PTSD didn't let him pursue that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I actually felt, reading that part of the manga, I actually felt sorry for him. Here is a guy, he's trying to turn his life around. He's met the love of his life, and all of a sudden his brain goes sideways and he kills her, and now he
kills her on an accident at that, too.
Yeah, that's right. And he blames Alita for it, so he goes right back to what he was, if not worse. So
yeah.
Chaos, what's your thoughts about Zapan?
Well, he's obviously really full of himself, and unfortunately that keeps leading to worse and worse for him. Made worse by the fact that his head got retrieved after he got eaten by the dogs.
Yeah. Yep, he becomes Zerkerpan, doesn't he? Yeah, I guess that. How did Nova get that berserker body?
He had the butler go pick up his head after the dogs ate the rest of him.
Yeah. That'd be a horrible way to go, having dogs eat you. You okay there, Lee?
No, that's not me. I've been muted.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I can't think of anything else about Zapan. He's like say, he is like y'all were saying, he's a narcissistic jackass. He does make a little bit of a turnaround when he meets Sarah, but then he just goes right back, so which tells me the basics of his personality and his being didn't really change, so. Okay, let's look at some antagonists now. When I say antagonists, some folks may disagree with this. They may say that Eric is actually a villain, Wait a minute. Let me see what Ash says here now. Okay, in the manga, Zapan wasn't a villain since everything he did in spite of it is illegal. Yeah, it happened when he lost his mind after losing Sarah. Yes, that's true. In the film, he suddenly became a murderer, which is weak. Yeah. And of course, in the manga, he goes on a rampage when he gets that berserker body, and he kills a lot of innocent people. So, yeah, I guess that I don't know. That makes him a villain in my mind, there, Ash. But I'm not sure about that. I just think he's a sad character. Zapan is, I mean, he's, of course, not knowing any more about his backstory, but I'd like to say, I really felt sorry for him when I was reading that part of the manga, So anyway. Okay, now this one here, people might disagree with me. I mean, they might, see that, because I don't think that Erica is a villain per se. Now, I may be wrong about this, but when they were kids, her and Alita or Yoko were really close, and they were almost like sisters. And then, of course, that woman who claimed to be Alita's mother came up, takes Alita away from, I guess from Erica and Dr. Finch. And, and then, of course, I guess Erica blames Alita for not ever coming back or whatever it was, and of course they ended up becoming mortal enemies after that. So even to the point where Alita actually kills Erica at one point, and then Erica becomes a necro soldier, I guess. Let me see what he's got. Ash has got one more thing here about Zapan. To make that right, I would that no one manipulated Zapan, believing he had the right to kill that civilian to frame Hugo. Yeah, that possibly. That wasn't evident in the film, but certainly it is certainly within the realm of possibility for sure. So anyway, but Erica, really wants to kill Alita. I guess in the Mars Chronicle in Volume 9, I guess it was, or the end of Volume 8 or something like that. And Erica actually watches Alita in the Zot. I don't know if she's trying to see if she's worthy of fighting her or something like that, but Erica's pretty potent herself, Now, she's not a full replacement or total replacement cyborg like Alita is, because she's got a human arm, and I'm not sure how much of her body is cybernetic, but she's a hell of a fighter, because that Danko, that gun that Alita's got on her shoulder, fired all those missiles at her, and she just jumped out of the way, and it was easy.
Well, she didn't just jump out of the way. She also took some nails and threw them and fired and blew up his heat-seeking projectiles that way.
Yeah, that's right. So she's a hell of a fighter. So I do think as a necro soldier, she was just kind of, I don't know. I guess they have a saying down in Texas, hell bent for leather, I guess, is a word that comes to mind. But she just seems like what makes her happy is fighting, I guess. In a way, that's kind of like Alita. Alita's happy when she's fighting, although for a different reason, So, because, Alita said that, I feel alive when I'm fighting. I think Erica is just evil, when she's, when she grows up. So
Erica is basically a serial killer.
Yeah, exactly. Now she looks cute, boy, on the left. You see a cute girl like that, you just want to move away from her if it's Erica, because you won't. That relationship won't last long, and you won't be alive after that either. So you want to make sure that anybody would stay clear of her like that. And she would be another person, I guess, that people might underestimate, because she's just looks like a cute girl, and she is freaking lethal. She is. I mean, she's a lot like Alita in that regard. Okay, yeah, Erica had an organic body when she was on Last Sword. Erica was also a total replacement cyborg. Okay, I wasn't clear about that. Yeah, so she does eventually become a TR cyborg. So that kind of puts her on Alita's level, I guess, in terms of ability. So
I'm gonna have to head off.
all right, Lee. Well, I'm sorry you're feeling bad, man. Thanks for joining us, though.
No problem.
And when I get through with that chapter 25, I'll leave. So I did catch a couple of little mistakes that you had made, in a couple of the wordings, but I'll write that up so you can see it.
Okay.
All right, man. Take it easy.
You guys take care. Have fun.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So, Smedrick, you haven't read this part of the manga either, have you? So you probably don't know a whole lot about it.
No, I saw a lot of panels with her, and I like it. I'm not sure who should play her in the sequels, but
Well, she won't show up until probably if there is a fourth movie or there is a series, she'll show up in there.
yeah, we need it.
Yeah, but she won't show up in 2 or 3 more than likely. And well, of course, Cameron can write that script any way he wants. So, or that.
Yeah,
whatever,
flashbacks maybe to make it more interesting.
Yeah.
To wait for the fourth or sequels, or to wait for the series.
Yeah.
I think he could do some. Yeah, some.
I wouldn't mind seeing her in. Of course, if she does end up in it, it'll probably be in the third movie. If she does, but it wouldn't be. I mean, it would probably still be in the spirit of the manga, but it wouldn't track directly to it because she doesn't really show up until last order. Well, she is in Mars Chronicles, so who knows? Depends on how he wants to.
Yeah, who knows? That's
yeah,
it.
Exactly. Yeah. So, Chaos, what's your thoughts about Erica?
Erica is. Let's see. I have this thing. What I'm wondering is whether or not it will be Erica or the general that commands her as the final villain in Mars Chronicle or after that.
Yeah, I've only read halfway through 9. So
if you follow when I was playing Martian Memory, you'd find that there is a general from back in the war, but he's going to be what I have to fight at the end, and I'm trying to get ready for it, but I'm wondering if it's the same thing.
Well, the Erica you see on the screen here, she's a necro soldier here. I mean,
right.
Alita kills her actually earlier on, like it was 200 years before these images in the manga's timeline when she kills Erica. Because Erica was evil. At that point, I guess Alita had to kill her. But and then of course there's that scene at the end of I think volume 8 of Martian Chronicles where Erica has that monument erected for all those little girls that died, when I guess I can't remember what city it was that got invaded by a false flag type event, troops. And Erica built this monument to these little girls, and Alita shows up, to pay respects. And of course, Erica was sitting there waiting for her, ready to, Erica wanted to kill her. And of course, they fight each other. And, actually, Erica tears off one of Alita's arms, I think it was, or something like that.
Yeah.
But Alita knocks her down or does something to her, knocks her flat on her back or something like that. And then Erica was about to use this technique on her. I can't remember what she called it now on Alita. Not that it necessarily would work. Then Alita told her she's a necro soldier, and of course that freaked her out. And then she confronted that general, I guess, about that. He says, "Yeah, you're a necro soldier," or something to this effect. "Yeah, you're a necro soldier. So what? What difference does it make? You're alive, basically." So, I mean, it was kind of one of those things that kind of got Erica's attention, I think, so. But yeah, in the end of Mars Chronicles 9 and 10, I guess, or even 8, 9, and 10, I guess, Erica's just pure evil. And even in, I guess, in Last Order, she's pure evil when she's in that. So now at the beginning of Martian Chronicles, she's just a little girl. She did kill her parents because they were mean to her. They abused her. They let the dog eat one of her hands. And her mother knocked her eye out. And stuff like that. So, I guess Erica killed him, and just really with her mother in the house, she burned the house to the ground with her mother in it. So that, that was her start down the dark path, I guess. So. Of course, she's got both eyes there, as you can see.
That gives me hope. There will be a century where you can replace bad eyes like mine.
Oh gosh. Well, maybe, Eric. That's right. Stick around for another 10 years. Maybe you'll get it.
This is too long. Next try. Next try. Next try.
Ain't too long. Ain't too long. Anyway, Badman says Yoko or Alita indirectly killed a lot of Panzer Künstlers, I guess, when Grunthal was destroyed by coalition made up military forces from Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Venus. Yeah, okay. Yeah, Badman, I tell you, you and Maxie know a lot more about this than I do, that's for sure. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Gally is Goku and Erica's Vegeta. Yeah, that's right. Which is another IP I really like, Dragon Ball. I really like those. I remember Den and I used to watch those Dragon Ball Z. We used to watch after the stream, a lot of times. All right, any more thoughts about Erica before we move on? Well, this guy right here, Joshigan. Now, he's, once again, I don't consider him any kind of villain at all. They are really just competitors in a very tough combat sport. And, yeah, certainly it gets pretty serious, and people get killed and injured in this sport. But actually, I think Alita actually, almost to the point of idolizing him, I guess, because he is such a powerful person, and he's the Joshigan in the movies is different than the Joshigan in the movie. I mean, Joshigan in the manga is different than Joshigan in the movie. In the manga, Joshigan is called Emperor Joshigan because he can just beat the crap out of any motorball player, period, and any groups of motorball players by himself. But we did see in a movie where I guess it was Nausicaa. I guess after he and Joshigan and Adjicutty kind of locked up on the track, and Nausicaa, kind of knocked him flying, and Adjicutty ended up with a motorball. But in the manga, that just didn't happen. Joshigan was way too powerful, and hopefully in the movie they'll do the same thing. Jai Courtney comes back. Maybe he'll get an upgrade from Nova, kind of like he does in the manga, and become a really powerful, even more powerful than he is, and kind of dominate the motorball, the Champions League, and set it up a battle with him and Alita, so. But, I don't think he's narcissistic, but he's got a little bit of an egotistic kind of thing about him. He does know he's the best motorballer, period. He does have a lot of concern for his sister Shamira, even to the point when he tries to ask Doc Ito to marry Shamira, even though Shamira is like 16 years old and Doc Ito is like 50 or 60, something like this anyway. But Joshigan was so concerned about his sister because he knew he was terminal. I think when he had Chaos, he had brain cancer, didn't he, or something like that. And I guess Nova had kind of, given him a new lease on life with some treatment, and Ito was kind of keeping him alive by some means. I'm not sure how, but he wanted to make it to final champion. So, whatever kind of monetary rewards he would get, he could, Shamira would get it before he died, so he really, in a way, he had a good heart, because he really did care for his sister, it wasn't just all about him. Now, that said, he was egotistical. He thought he was the best motorballer ever, which he was. And of course, he and Alita have a hell of a fight, in the motorball track. So, because in that competition, but yeah, he's not narcissistic. He's not evil. He's just one of Alita's opponents is all. And I think in the Ouroboros, she actually sees him and he encourages her, and wants her to do, make herself a better person or whatever it was, so. Anyway, Chaos, is that kind of how you understood this as well, or what? You there, Chaos, or you?
He muted himself.
Well, he
so-
probably he has
Yeah.
young kids, so he probably
Yeah,
has
yeah.
to take care of them. They should really focus on the second on motorball. I love the culture of motorball, and all the players had devoted to the sport like samurai.
Yeah.
Thank their Lord. Yes,
Yeah, agree, Ash.
I do agree. Now, if the Creek has his way, he'll get a 3-hour movie and he'll have both arcs in there. But I would be okay with just Alita 2 being Motorball, Alita 3 being Badlands, and then they'd go into Alita 4, 5, and 6 and do Design. Or something like
Exactly.
that. So I'd be all right with that. And then, of course, Rosa would have a lot of work to do because she'd have 5 more movies to be in, so which I'm sure she wouldn't mind. So.
Yeah, I think they should focus on Yoshogun.
Yeah.
Because he's a guy a bit like Chaos. He loves to have everything under control. But in the opposite to Chaos, he is one who he's a technician, an administrator. He analyzes things.
Yeah.
Then his conclusions are based on concrete results of his testings, of his studies, of his whatever. Yeah. And that makes him, one of the best motorball players they ever had.
Yeah.
And that's such an interesting guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would like to see him. Yeah, in the next sequel.
Yes, indeed. Felipe Castillo says, how strong Joshigan is for his death compared to Den or Berserker Japan. I would say he's probably not quite as powerful as Den and certainly not as powerful as Zerkerpan. But just before Joshigan in the manga dies, he does almost like a Kamehameha, like in Dragon Ball, where he gets powered up, and he actually, well, I don't want to give it away, but he and Alita continue to fight, and I'm not going to say anymore because I don't want to spoil. But at that point, when he does that last, desperate last gasp, kind of thing, he's probably as powerful as Den when he does that. Zerkerpan's another level, I think. I think because he destroys half of Iron City, or the scrapyard in the case of the manga, and kills a bunch of people. And he's in the berserker body, so he's way OP, and Alita has to fight him in just her civilian body. So and of course Alita still beats him, but. So I don't know. I would say probably equal to Den, maybe not quite as powerful as Zerkerpan, and no Black Man. The Bad Man. I'm sorry. I don't think he meant Teagle. I do think he means he does mean Den. I think so. That's what I think anyway. Yeah, that's right. That was the thing he did focus on was chi. Yeah, that's right. I don't know. Maybe so. He may have been more powerful than Den. I still don't think he was quite as powerful as Zerkerpan, though. I think Zerkerpan just was. I think he was on next level type stuff because if you remember, there was that scene in the manga where Alita and Joshigan do that arm wrestling thing, and Alita wasn't even in her. She was in her motorball body. She wasn't in the berserker body, and then of course they kind of did that arm wrestling thing, and he was using his chi and she was using all the might of the body she had, and it was basically a stalemate, and as he was walking away, he realized something was happening with his arm, and he said if that would have gone a few seconds more, she would have broke my arm off or something. And of course I think she thought that he was going to beat her, you know, but they stopped, you know, in the middle of that. So that's why I do think Zerkapan would probably be more powerful than Joshigan. But Joshigan might have been as powerful as Den. That's possible. So anyway, that's my thought anyway. Any other comment there from you, Chaos, or you, Smendrick, about Joshigan?
No, no.
Okay.
Have to think about it, but no.
Okay. Looks like Chaos maybe put a couple more things in. Nope. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe he did put something else in there. I can't remember which one I put in there. So let me go up. I'm going to put both of these in there. I may have put this first one in there already, but I can't remember. So let me go ahead and put it in there. There's one of Chaos's videos, and he has another one if you want to go check it out. So he's got two of them. Yeah, check out Chaos's channel. I really like his videos. He does a good job. And he does streams from now and then, every now and then too. All right, last one. I know, Smendrick, I know you don't know this one.
No. Yes, yeah. As you said, I didn't read the mangas completely due to my bad eyes and whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I love to see new characters and learn about them. Yeah.
Well, Toji, he is kind of the leader of the space karate guys. I can't remember what they call themselves, space karateka or whatever. Yeah. And it was him. It was he and I guess that weird guy. I can't remember his name. You know, he was just plain freaking weird. And then there was Zeka. You know, look at that. Hola, Leonardo. ¿Cómo está, amigo? Anyway, but he's a big guy. This guy would tower over Grishka. I mean, this guy was like 5 meters tall. You know, I mean, he was huge. And of course, we know Alita is about 1.5 liters tall. So you might think, well, this is a fight that's not going to last long. But Alita, of course, is in the Imaginos 2.0 body, so that kind of evens things out, I think, or even, you know. But these two are not enemies either. As a matter of fact, before their bout the next day, they were going to the Zot. They had tea together, you know, and it was funny, a funny panel where Alita was holding this gigantic teacup, like she's going to drink out of this gigantic teacup, you know. And they were just talking to each other, you know, almost like you would think of friends talking to each other, you know, so, and respecting each other as competitors, you know. And you can see the difference in size there on that right panel. Alita is very tiny compared to him, but, you know, she's got that Imaginos 2.1 body, and absolutely they fight. And I'm going to kind of maybe spoil a little bit right here, but, you know, she's fighting him, and it probably has the upper hand on him. And then you know, he does. I forget what it is he does, but it kind of destroys her. You know, just obliterates her, and then she reassembles. You know, the folks on Jupiter, you know, help her. They just reassemble her, and she now has and they've connected her to 2 supercomputers, and they give her the power of the wormhole or black hole, whatever. And now she's in the Imaginos 2.1 body, and she proceeds to beat the shit out of him after that. Although it doesn't go that far, you know. But she was definitely winning, you know, when she got that new body, you know. So yes, Zeka. No, Zeka's. I'm Felipe. Looks like you're saying is Zeka more powerful than Toji? I don't think so. I think Toji was the master of that group. Zeka was pretty tough though. You know, and Zeka fought Zex, is who he fought. And that one guy, I guess, that Zazie fought, I can't remember his name. Rakan was, I think. Yeah, Rakan, I believe was his name. Something like that, anyway. And of course, the Space Angels won that fight, you know, because they won all 3 fights. Actually, I think Zeka and Zex were fighting even, but Zazie killed Rakan, and Alita was pretty much on the way of beating Toji, you know. And then, of course, you know, Zeka and Zex were fighting to a draw, basically. So, what is this right here? Fanfic. Alita and Josh got to have the same sensei. This fight was very personal because I think you mean Vector will be sensei success. No, Victor. Okay, you're talking about the vampire, I guess, Ash. So, yeah, that's right. So, okay. By the way, Ash, if you got that fanfic, why don't you load that thing up on the gaming channel, man? Okay, Floyd does meet Zex twice. Yes, that's right. Yeah, that's right. But I do think, yeah, Toji and Zeka were under the same instructor, Angelus. That's right, from what I remember. Yeah. I think Toji was the leader of that group, though, I think. So anyway, that's what I know about Toji. Really huge guy, but he's not kind of just a big brute like Grewishka was. I mean, he was a master of what Kishiro called space karate, which would be, I guess, a combination of all the karate martial arts on Earth, perhaps, you know, for cyborgs. And of course, we know Alita is a master of Panzer Kunst, so you know that was probably been a pretty. If that was a real thing, it would be an interesting fight, wouldn't it? To see 2 masters going at each other. One particularly with Alita being as tiny as she was versus that guy that's 5 meters tall, which is about 16 feet, you know. So he's like 3 times taller, and 3 times taller than she is. So, you know, I mean, she probably came up to his kneecaps or something, standing on the ground. But there you see on the right, she's putting it on him right there on that one shot anyway. Angelus, if you were on here, you could probably tell us about space karate a little bit better than I can do it, I guess. Second, the same instructor was Taji's instructor. Yeah, that's right. Oh, Victor. Oh, I see. I thought you were talking about the vampire Victor. That would have been, yeah, okay. No, it's just a fanfic idea. I haven't written anything about it yet. Well, when you do, Ash, put that on the gaming server, man. We'd love to read it. Well, Smendrick, I know you haven't read this part of the manga, so what's this?
Yeah, I like big guys.
Yeah, Don Foya was inside Toji. That's right, because that was like his consciousness, wasn't it? Yeah, that's right. But I don't think it influenced his strength at all. Yeah, that's right. So, matter of fact, they alluded to that because Toji, I almost said Toji actually grabbed Zeka and drug him to wherever that portal was taking him. I can't remember. Now it's been so long since I've read that thing, but you know, so Toji basically said, "Hey, this fight's over. We lost." So off they go, you know. And of course, Rakan was dead, so he wasn't going anywhere. So, okay, guys, that's all I know about those particular, you know, antagonists and villains. Smendrick, can you think of a different one, maybe? Because I know I left out one. That's for sure.
Yeah, sure, but no, it's a very good summary of those villains and antagonists we had. Yeah, I like it.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't have anything else on this, so I guess we can move on. Did we miss anything? I don't think we did. You know. What do you think, Spencer? Did we miss anything? I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Did we ever talk about sequels?
Did we? Well, now, we must have forgot about that, Spencer.
Man.
Wir müssen haben das vergessen. Yeah.
We have to replace Vladdy because he's
he would
today. He's with his family.
Yeah, that's cool.
But so we should talk about sequels soon. Very soon.
Certainly next week we will.
And
particularly if Lottie comes on there, because we're going to rant out of him.
Yeah, he's destroying the root cause for not getting sequels at the moment. And it's time. So, guys, give Alita her sequels.
Well, and speaking of that, of course, in that center panel you see there, Alita does love her Uncle Creek. And that's because he wants a sequel just like Smedrick and she does. If you got a problem with that, her loving her Uncle Creek and wanting sequels, you take it up with her, and let's see how you handle that plasma weapon she's got. So anyway. Well, coming up on the channel, I guess tomorrow I'm going to have it's kind of an AI-based video. I'm still working on it. I've got it pretty much not done, but I got it pretty much set up. And then I guess day after that, or a couple of days after that, I'm going to do another Rosa Salazar video, because I every 3 weeks to a month, I like to do one about our queen, because our queen's great, man. She's, we are so fortunate to have her as to play Alita, because she did a great job on that, so, she comes back to play for Alita. We're going to get everything we want to see out of Alita on that one, I don't know what's going to happen on the third video coming up this week, but next week we will have another Alita live stream. So, and the YouTube channel of the week is AA-vfx, and this individual does a lot of Alita AI, really well done. It's very similar to that. I guess there's a video that came out by AFA Dreams, I guess, which means Alita Fallen Angel Dreams. And then, of course, there's that other AI channel. I can't recall the handle now. That individual also produces some of these videos that AA-vfx does. So, if you can, there's the link you see under the heading up there. If you just type in at AA-vfx, you'll get that channel. Now, I'll warn you, this is AI. It's not regular art. Some folks don't like that too much, and I understand that, but hey, this has helped keeping our girl current, and I guess I can kind of dig it, in a way. I do prefer regular art, obviously, but this is well done, this stuff. And click on that, or you can type that in there, YouTube, on the YouTube channel, and then go look some of those videos. Now, this channel doesn't just do Alita. This channel also has other kinds of AI on there, but they do a lot of Alita stuff on there. So, and here's our queen right here, and she is great, and she is really pretty. So, I mean, but we are, like I said before, we are really lucky that she was the actor that played Alita, because she just did a phenomenal job on it, and certainly we're fortunate for that, and of course all of us in the Alita Army we only want good things for Rosa, because Rosa's really great. I also want to give shout outs to Elle Lamont, Jesse Fisher. They played Screwhead. Elle was certainly the actor on Screwhead, but Jesse was was doing a lot of the stunts. So all three of these need to be back in that sequel. I want to see Screwhead and Alita team up when they fight Joshigon, in the Motorball for final champion, So they all need it, and certainly all three of these are just super at what they do. Certainly, Rosa and Elle are really good at what they do for sure as actors. But as Elle would put it about Jessie, she's the most badass stunt woman I ever worked with. So, that's high praise right there. So, all three of these deserve it. So, come on, Disney, give us that sequel and put all three of these in there. We want to see them.
Did you hear this, Mr. Attorney of Disney? Did you hear this? Top management, so-called top management.
Mr. Iger, you mean?
Nah, he's the CEO. He is.
Yeah. He's not the chairman of the board, is he?
Nah.
Yeah.
Nah. Come on, give us.
Yeah, come on. All three of these ladies deserve it, man, because they're so good at what they do.
Really.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, I guess tomorrow, Smendrick's going to love this. Where's Alita's sequel? Damn it.
Yeah, we haven't talked in the 261 episodes before.
Yeah.
So we should talk about it. And yeah.
Like we haven't talked about it before, you mean?
So now, schedule this, Disney. You can learn something.
Yes. So anyway, yeah, we're gonna chat about that. Now tomorrow we were originally going to do part 2 of the female, protagonist, how Alita would react to him, but we're going to put that off a couple of weeks, I think, and do it, maybe in middle of May or something like that. So we'll see. So anyway, join us for that tomorrow. We'd love to see you on Radio Chaos. And of course, we got the Stammtisch after party on this one. If anybody wants to join us, certainly I'm going to put the link in the chat right here. And all you got to do is after the stream is over, you can click on it. You won't be streamed. People won't hear your voice or anything like that. You can turn your camera on if you want. You don't have to. We just get on here and we just have fun after the stream, and we just us guys, and
no one sees you drinking beer.
That's right. So, but anyway, and just for those of you that don't know German, Stammtisch means regulars table. So, or if you, as they say down in the Southeast United States, liars table. So, we all show up for this and just have a good time, talking about various things. And I think I'm going to be showing some of the stills that I'm going to be working with for my next video that's coming out tomorrow. So we're just going to kind of look at that. Some of it's hilarious. I'm not going to use them all, of course, but if you want to see some of that stuff, come on there. We'd love to have you. And we are the most positive fandom on the internet. We are Alita advocates. We support Alita and our queen, Rosa, passionately and positively. And certainly we do that in various numbers of ways. Certainly we do campaigns. Remember here about, 6 weeks ago, we gave a hero arm to a young lady named Maria. And that, was just really an awesome thing to participate in. She was so appreciative of that. But that fourth bullet, this is targeted directly at Disney. We are the Alita Army, and we are here to stay. And we are going to stay here until we get the sequel. And that means you better be doing, because you're not getting rid of us. If you're counting on us to just fade away, the creek could be 150 years old and I'd still be doing this. So, let's, if you want to save yourself some grief, give us the sequel. Isn't that right, Smendrick?
That's exactly what I want to say.
Yes. Okay, well, why is that image there? Well, that image is there because I like it, and I am the stream manager, the producer, the director. I'm also the janitor, the chief cook and bottle washer. I'm all of those things. And to paraphrase Growishka, I'm only here for our girl and the Alita Army. And, of course, all of us in the Alita Army are only here for our girl. So that leaves only one thing left to do, and that's the call to action on my count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Film those sequels,
baby.
And that was freaking horrible, but that's okay. We're going to go with it. So we'll catch you guys next week on the Alita Livestream, and we will catch you tomorrow on Radio Chaos.
See you and wish you happy Easter.
Bye.
What's up, Alita Army? This is Hot Toys Alita, and I hope you enjoyed this week's Alita Livestream. Please join my Uncle Creek, Angelus, and our other guests for next week's show. Remember, I do not stand by in the presence of evil, and film those sequels, baby. See you next time.